My wife had an affair with her boss while pregnant. She used me as a backup, lied to me, hid everything, and betrayed our future plans. I have been married for a little over 3 years. We had been together for almost 5 before that. We met in Austin, Texas. We both worked in the same building, although for different companies. We would run into each other in the cafeteria, and, eventually, we started talking. Everything was quite normal. At first, we got along well. We went out on weekends. We liked to watch the same series. There was no drama. I came from a shitty relationship, and so did she. So, at first, we just wanted something calm. We got married in a small ceremony, nothing crazy. I worked as an IT technician for a telecommunications company, and she as an executive assistant at a law firm. Everything was fine. I will not say it was the perfect marriage, but we worked, we had plans, save money, buy a house, and eventually have a child. That eventually became soon. It was not an accident. It was something we talked about. I wanted to wait a little longer, but she was sure it was time. She said she did not want to have children too late, that her mom had had complications from waiting too long. She convinced me. We stopped using protection, and after about 3 months, she got pregnant. When she told me, she cried, and so did I. We were in the kitchen. It was a moment I thought I would always remember as something happy. At that time, it was. We called our parents, bought a little notebook to write down names. She started taking eating healthier more seriously. I started working extra hours to have some money saved. I did not complain. I was excited. But then the small changes began. I do not know exactly when everything went wrong. I guess you always notice it late. It started with her being too tired to talk at night. Then she would come home from work more serious, with her head somewhere else. If I asked her how she was, she would say it was nothing, that she was just stressed. I believed her. I was also stressed, so I understood. I did not think there was anything strange. It went on like that for about a month, and one night, I asked her if she wanted to talk about something. She looked at me strangely, as if she were irritated. She told me that lately she felt I was not as involved with the pregnancy. I was shocked because I was the one who went to all the doctor's appointments with her, the one who cooked when she had nausea, the one who canceled a work trip to be at her first ultrasound. That conversation ended badly. It left me with a feeling in my chest that never went away. A couple of weeks later, what changed everything happened. It was a Saturday. I had gone out to buy some things to fix up the baby's room. She said she did not want to come because she had a headache. I came back around 2 in the afternoon, and she was not home. I sent her a message. She did not reply. At 4, she wrote to me that she had decided to stop by the office because she had to print some important papers and that she stayed talking to her boss. I did not say anything to her at that moment, but something did not add up. She had never left like that before, without notice. That night, while she was sleeping, I grabbed her laptop. Not out of habit. I had never done it before, but that day, I do not know, something would not leave me alone. Her email was open, and there it was. I saw emails from her boss. Many, some work-related, yes, but others not. There was one that said, "I loved yesterday," and another where he sent her a song and told her he thought of her every time he heard it. I froze. I read one after another, as if I were watching someone else's movie. In one, he tells her not to worry, that he will take care of everything if things get complicated. I did not know what that meant. I thought 1,000 things, but everything pointed to the same thing. I closed the computer, lay down next to her. I did not sleep at all. I stared at the ceiling and wondered if what I thought was really happening, that the child we were expecting was not mine, that she was using me as a backup. The next day, I confronted her, not with shouts. I just asked her who he was and since when it had been happening. First, she tried to deny it, said they were just messages, that it was a game, but when I told her I knew everything, she broke down. She started crying and told me it had happened once, that it was a confusion, that he had supported her a lot with work issues, that she felt pressured, that she did not want to ruin our lives over a mistake. But the worst came later, when I asked her if the baby was mine. She did not answer immediately. Sorry. And in that silence, I understood everything. She looked at me and, with an almost powerless voice, said, "I did it for security, to ensure the baby a future, in case you could not give him what he can." I stayed silent. I did not know what to do. I got up, grabbed my keys, and left. I did not come back that night, nor the next 2. I slept on a friend's sofa for the next 2 nights. He did not ask me many questions, and I appreciate that. He just gave me space. I would stay awake until 4 or 5 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, smoking, not thinking about anything clearly, but with my head exploding. I do not know how to explain that feeling. It is not just sadness. It is like being trapped in something dirty, sticky, that does not let you move or think straight. On the third day, she wrote to me a lot. Long messages, audios crying, saying it was not like that everything was misinterpreted, that she loves me and did not want to hurt me. I did not reply. The truth is, I did not even know what to say. The idea that that woman, the same one who hugged me in the early mornings saying everything was going to be okay, had lied to me so calmly was destroying me inside. She looked me in the eyes every day, knowing what she was doing. At night, I went home, not because I wanted to talk, but because I needed clothes and some things from work. When I entered, I found her on the sofa, with red eyes, without makeup. She had that face that people who know they have lost have, but she said nothing, just looked at me. I did not speak at first either. I went straight to the room, grabbed a backpack, started putting things in. That is when she came up behind me and said, "The baby could be yours." It is not certain that it is not. I do not know what face I made, but it sure was not good. I turned around and asked her if she wanted me to make tea. She said yes, that she agreed, but that she did not want to wait so long for things between us to be fixed. She said we could start over, regardless of the result. I told her no, that if there was a possibility that it was not my child, then there was nothing to start. She started crying again, hugged me, asked me not to leave her. She told me I was not thinking straight, that it was a moment of weakness, that he pressured her a lot at work, and that she did not know how to say no. I asked her if she was saying it was abuse. She fell silent. No, it was not abuse, she said finally. But it was not something I was looking for either. It just happened. That broke me, because not only was she admitting what she did, but she was saying it as if she had tripped over a stone, not as if she had destroyed a family. I told her we were going to do the test, and that, until then, I did not want to sleep in the same house. That night, I slept in the car. Literally, I did not feel like going back to my friend's place, and I did not feel like explaining anything to anyone. I slept in a parking lot, covered with a jacket. I woke up several times, not from cold, from rage. The next day, I went to a clinic to ask for information about the paternity test. They told me I had to wait a couple of weeks until the baby was born or do it prenatally with a special procedure. It cost more than I had in the bank, but I said I would do it anyway. I made an appointment. That day was when I started doing what I should have done before. Check everything, her cell phone, her computer, her social media. She had left everything open, I guess because she no longer had the strength to hide. And that is when I confirmed everything. There were messages from months before, conversations with her boss, many during work hours. They sent each other private things, photos, memes with double meanings, phrases like, "Do I miss you?" or "Do I need you today?" But the worst was not that. The worst was a message where she told him, "I do not know how to tell him. He is so excited. I feel like garbage." That was me, the excited one. The one who cooked for her when her back hurt. The one who painted the baby's room with his own hands. The one who turned down his promotion to have more time at home. The naive one. I felt humiliated like never before in my life, like a clown. I did not say anything that night. She was in the room, asleep, hugging a pillow as if it were me. I stood watching from the door. I felt like screaming at her, breaking everything, telling her the 1,000 things I had stuck in my throat, but I said nothing. I just left again. 3 more days passed. The silence was total. I did not answer anything. She did not insist much either. She was already sending me more spaced-out messages, increasingly empty. I guess she was also giving up, until one day I received a call from an unknown number. It was him, the boss. I do not know how he got my number. He told me we needed to talk like adults, and that he wanted to take responsibility, that it was not his intention to hurt anyone, but that things just happened that way. I hung up without saying a word. That night, I went home for the last time, just to make something clear to her. The test was happening no matter what, and if it was not my child, I was leaving for good. And if it was, I also had to think about whether I would stay, because there was no trust or respect left. Just a baby in the middle of a fire. I do not know how to explain it, but when you are already in deep shit, there is a part of your brain that gets used to it. It is like the pain becomes background noise. It does not disappear, but it no longer screams, it just hums. That is how I felt that week, while we waited for the test results. We lived in the same house, but we did not talk. each in their own space, avoiding each other. I slept on the sofa or, sometimes, on the floor with a blanket, not because there was no other place, but because I could not even stand to watch her sleep. It generated a mixture of sadness, rage, and disgust that left me breathless. She tried to act normal. She offered me food, asked me if I needed anything. I did not answer. I just nodded or shook my head. I heard her cry at night, but I did not move. Not out of coldness. It was pure exhaustion. I had no energy left, not even to hate her. I was empty. 2 days before the test, she insisted again that she wanted to talk. She said she wanted to tell me everything from the beginning. I refused. I did not want to hear her sugar-coated version of events. I already had enough proof, but she did not stop until I agreed. I sat in front of her without saying anything, and then she let it out. According to her, it all started when he, her boss, started giving her more responsibilities. He made her feel seen, important. He told her she was brilliant, that she had potential for bigger things. She believed him. She says that, at first, it was just admiration. Then, he started inviting her to stay later at the office. They would order food, work together, laugh. One night, they kissed. It was not an accident. It was not something confusing. She knew it and continued. She said she felt guilty, that every time she came home after being with him she felt like a piece of shit, but she did not stop. She went back several times, then came the pregnancy. According to her, when she found out, she did not know if it was mine or his. She chose me. She chose me. She said it like that, as if it were a prize. She chose me because I was more reliable, because I was there to start a family. She said she was afraid to tell me the truth and that I would leave her alone with the baby. I told her that was not love, that was using me, that I am not a backup plan, that I am not an insurance policy for irresponsible mothers. She fell silent. She did not cry this time, just bowed her head. The next day, we went to do the paternity test. They took our samples. She looked paler than ever. I felt nothing, no anxiety, no hope. I just wanted it to be over. It took a week. During that time, I started mentally preparing my exit. I looked for apartments on Craigslist. I sold some things on Facebook Marketplace. I talked to my boss about the possibility of moving to another city. All without telling her, I no longer trusted a single word that came out of her mouth. When the envelope arrived, I opened it alone and, as I feared, it was not mine. I looked at it for several minutes, as if it were a mistake. But it was not. There was no room for doubt. The baby was not mine, and, worst of all, I felt relief, because at least I no longer had to carry that responsibility. There were no more excuses, no more reasons to stay. I went home with the envelope in my hand. I gave it to her. I did not say anything. She opened it, read it, and did not say a word. She just covered her face with her hands. She did not cry loudly. She just stayed like that, in silence, as if her soul had been cut. That night, she packed. She said she would go to her mother's house. I did not stop her. I did not say a word while she collected her clothes, her bathroom things, the box where she was keeping baby things. At some point, she asked me if I planned to forgive her. I told her I did not know, that for now I just wanted to breathe. 3 days passed since she left. I stayed alone in the apartment, empty, quiet. Everything smelled like her. Every space reminded me of something that was no longer real. I would start washing dishes and remember when she hugged me from behind while I cooked. I would sit on the sofa and remember how she laughed with her legs on mine. I started throwing things away. Photos, letters, the list of names we had made for the baby. I burned most of them in an empty paint can. I wanted to erase any trace, but you cannot. Not that easily. On Saturday, her mom called me. She wanted to talk. She said this could not end like this, that there was a baby involved. I hung up. I did not want to know anything about them. Let them take care of it. Let them raise him between them. It is not my problem, until I received a message from the boss again. He told me the test result had thrown him off, and that, if it was not his or mine, then she had been with someone else. I had no idea about that. And that is when another layer of this shitty story began. When I saw that message from the boss, I thought it was a bad joke. Another one. I already had enough knowing she had lied to me, that she used me, that she took me out of the center of my own life. And now this, that she had been with someone else, besides him. I replied only with, "What are you saying?" He told me he had talked to her after the test result, and that she confessed to him that, during that same time they were seeing each other, she had also had something sporadic with another person, that it was once, one night, supposedly before sleeping with him, but that now, with the results in hand, neither of them could assume the baby was theirs. I did not answer him anymore. I closed the phone, went to the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and could only think, what an idiot I am. I could not handle the level of garbage that was coming out. Every time I thought I had hit rock bottom, something new showed me I had not, as if I were in a burning building, and every door I opened led me to a worse room. That same night, I contacted her again. Not because I wanted to talk, not because I wanted to forgive her, I just wanted to know the whole truth, once and for all. I asked her to come to the apartment. She arrived an hour later. Her face was gaunt, as if she had not slept. She sat down without me saying anything. I told her, how many others were there? She said nothing at first. Then, she started with the typical. It was a moment of confusion. I felt lonely. I was not myself. Blah, blah, blah. I cut her off. I told her to stop beating around the bush. Then she let it out. She told me yes, that she had been with another, a guy from the gym, that it happened only once when I went on a week-long work trip, 3 months before the pregnancy, that it was not planned, that it meant nothing, that she was drunk, that we argued before I left, and that she felt lonely. And yes, I know how it sounds. The same old story, the classic, I felt lonely speech, but this time it did not affect me. I had nothing left to break. I just laughed. Literally, I laughed. I do not know if it was nervous laughter or hysteria, but I laughed as if everything were a stupid movie that could not get any more absurd. She started crying again and told me she understood if I wanted to disappear, but that she was completely sure now that she loved me, that she realized it late, but that I was the only one who was always there. I asked her if she knew who the father was. She looked at me and said, no, I have no idea. I felt as if someone had spat in my face, not because of the phrase itself, but because of how she said it. With resignation, as if she had already given up, as if she no longer cared what I felt. I told her to leave. I did not scream. I did not argue. I just asked her to leave. She looked at me as if she expected me to forgive her, as if deep down she believed that would eventually happen, but I was no longer the same. Something had died in me, and it was not coming back. The next day, I received an email from the boss, a PDF with his own paternity test, also negative. He sent it without saying anything else, as if telling me, see, it was not just me. She used us all. But I did not need him to tell me. I already knew. A few weeks passed. She moved in with a friend. I found out because she told me via message. I did not want to know more. I was focused on getting out of that apartment. Every corner had her smell, her shadow. I could not breathe. There, in the midst of all this, her mom called me again. This time, it was not to defend her, it was to apologize. She told me they knew nothing, that they were just as shocked, that she had had an emotional breakdown, that she was not eating, not sleeping, that she was thinking of harming herself. I did not know what to answer. I am sorry. Yes, but it is not my burden to carry. Not after everything she did. I decided to do something I did not think I would do. Therapy. I went to one session, then another. It was very hard for me to talk at first. I felt ridiculous, but at least I did not have to pretend. I did not have to be strong. I did not have to explain the context. Just let it all out. The therapist told me something that stuck with me. You were not betrayed for love. You were used out of necessity. And that is crueler. She was right. What hurt the most was not the physical betrayal. It was having been seen as an ATM with feelings, as the guy you can lie to his face as long as you have stability. She did not love me. She needed me. And now that I was no longer useful to her, all that was left was the damage. As I write this, 2 months have passed since she left. The gym guy's test also came back negative, according to what she herself told me a few days ago. Now she says she does not know what she is going to do, that the baby is coming soon and she has no idea who the father is. I do know what I am going to do. I am leaving Austin. I was offered a remote position from another city. I accepted. I already signed the contract for the new apartment. It is not an escape, it is a cleanse. I need to reset, start over, without lies, without manipulation, without that feeling of living in a house full of ghosts. The last thing she told me was, I hope someday you forgive me. I did not answer, not because I do not want to, but because I have nothing left to give her. I was packing for weeks, but not because I had so many things. It was slow because I did not know what to take and what to leave. Every object was a reminder. Everything I put in a box had its story, and most of them were stained by what happened. There were things I threw directly in the trash without a second glance. Clothes she gave me, utensils we had bought for the future baby, an album with our pictures from the early years, everything in the dumpster. When the movers came, I sat on the living room floor, already empty, just looking at the walls. I stayed there for over an hour, doing nothing, just looking. The silence hurt my ears. I do not know if it was sadness, relief, or just exhaustion. I guess a bit of everything. I moved to Albuquerque, not because I had family or friends there. I do not know anyone, precisely for that reason. I wanted a place where no one knew who I was, where I could start from scratch without being asked, "How is the baby and your wife? Are you better?" I did not want uncomfortable conversations or unsolicited advice or people trying to fix what cannot be fixed. The new city is quiet, cheaper than Austin. My new apartment is small, but sufficient. I spent the first few nights eating whatever, staring at the ceiling, without turning on the TV, just the fan spinning. I had trouble sleeping. I had trouble with everything actually. Going out, talking, concentrating on work, smiling, as if my body were still trapped there, in that house, in that life. And just when I was starting to feel that the air was a little more breathable, I got an email from her. Subject: I need to tell you something. I did not open it. It sat there, unopened, for 2 days. On the third, I could not stand it. She told me the baby had already been born. A girl. She sent me a picture. I did not open it. I could not. She told me she was fine, that it was a complicated birth, but that everything went well, that she was at home, alone, and that she wanted me to know that she understood she ruined everything, that she expected nothing from me, only that someday I could see her without resentment. I closed the email again without replying. I did not feel moved. I did not feel like seeing her. I did not feel tenderness or nostalgia. I felt distance, as if an old schoolmate I had not seen in years was talking to me, as if all that had happened in another life. A few days later, she wrote to me again, this time via message. She told me her parents did not want to help her, that they had left her alone, that they had not spoken to her since they found out about the whole story, that her entire family had turned their backs on her, that she had no one. And there, for a moment, I felt guilty, not for what I did, but for having been part of that story, for having allowed myself to be dragged with her into that disaster. I thought about the baby, about the girl who was born without asking for it, without understanding anything, who was going to grow up amidst lies, rejection, and resentment. And I felt pity, but not for her, for the girl. I thought about replying. I thought about telling her I could help with something specific, something minimal, a pack of diapers, a transfer, whatever. But I did not do it, because I knew how it would end. She would start showing up again. She would use that window to try to come back, and I am not willing to give her any more parts of me. A week later, she sent me a voicemail, crying, saying she did not know what to do, that she could not take it anymore, that the baby cried all night, that she was not eating well, that she had no one to take turns with, that there were days she did not even shower, that she was losing control, that she had thought dark things. I could not help it. Her voice affected me, not because of her, because of what she was saying, because of the baby, because no one should start life like that. I wrote her only one sentence: seek professional help. Do not look for me anymore. She left me on read. I do not know if it was cruel, but it was the most human thing I could be without getting lost in her disaster again. Since then, she has not contacted me again. I still get up early. I work from the computer, I go for walks. Sometimes I pass by a store and see baby things, not out of nostalgia, but out of habit. My head still has those reflexes. It sees a crib and thinks, that would look good in the room, but then I remember that room no longer exists. Once I dreamed I saw her in a supermarket. She was holding the girl in her arms, looking at me, and smiling as if nothing had happened. I looked at her too, without resentment, without love, like you look at a stranger who was once part of your story. And then I woke up with a knot in my chest. I do not regret leaving. I regret not having seen the signs sooner. I regret having bet everything on someone who did not deserve half of it. But I do not regret cutting ties, because if I had not, today I would be there, living a lie, taking care of a daughter who is not mine, sleeping next to someone who destroyed me without batting an eye. I thought that after blocking her everything would calm down, that the silence would be definitive, but no. A few days later, she wrote to me from another number. At first, I did not recognize the contact. It just said, "Hello, it is me." I did not reply. Then, she sent another, longer message. She told me she needed to see me in person, that it was important, that she had to tell me something she could not send via message. I blocked her again. The next day, I got an email. Same content, different form. "I know you hate me. But this is important. It is not about me. It is about the baby." I stared at the screen for a while. Something told me that if I opened that door again, even a little, I would get tangled up in everything again. But I also felt that fear that something serious would happen and I would ignore it. Even though that girl was not my daughter, it was impossible to pretend I did not care at all. So I replied coldly, briefly. I just asked, "What is wrong?" She told me they had taken the baby to the hospital for a very high fever, that the doctors were running tests because there were signs of an infection. She sent me a picture of the admission bracelet with the medical wristband from the local hospital. She told me she was alone, that she did not know who else to turn to. I did not answer right away. I spent an hour mulling it over. I called the clinic whose name appeared on the wristband. I asked, as per protocol, if I could verify the status of a minor patient. Obviously, they told me no, only direct relatives. I left it at that, but anxiety had already gripped me by the neck. I wrote to her again. What did the doctors say? She replied instantly that they were waiting for results, that they suspected a urinary tract infection or something similar, that the baby would not stop crying, was not eating, was not sleeping, and neither was she. I do not know why, but I felt the need to go. I got in the car and drove for over 10 hours back to Austin. In silence. I did not even put on music. I just drove with a clenched jaw and sweaty hands. Not for her, for the baby, for the part of me that still could not completely detach. I arrived at the hospital the next morning. She waited for me outside. She looked destroyed, dark circles, gaunt, with her hair a mess. She looked at me as if she were seeing a ghost. We did not talk much. She just guided me to the room, and there she was, the baby, tiny, in her arm, asleep, breathing with difficulty. And something happened to me, something I did not expect. I broke down. Not in front of her. I held back. But inside I felt something break or come together. I do not know. Seeing that creature so fragile, so defenseless, so oblivious to everything around her. It destroyed me. I spent that whole day and offered to take turns with her so she could sleep a little. We did not talk about us. I did not ask about the father. I did not want to know. I just wanted that girl to be okay. The doctors later confirmed it was a mild infection, nothing serious. 2 more days of observation and then home. I stayed almost the whole time. I slept in the waiting room, showered in public bathrooms, ate whatever from the vending machine. On the 3rd day, calmer, she tried to talk. She told me she never imagined seeing me there, that she did not deserve my concern, that she understood if I wanted to leave and never come back. I did not answer her anything, because the only thing I was clear about was this. I was not there for her. I was there for the baby. Period. On the 4th day, she was discharged. I offered to take them home. During the ride, she apologized again. She said if she could turn back time, she would do everything differently, that she thought a lot about what we had, that sometimes she dreamed about me, that she wanted to start over. That is when I spoke. I told her it was never going to happen, that she could cry, beg, write whatever she wanted, but that what was between us was dead, that she should not look for me anymore, that if she ever needed concrete help for the girl, she could write to me, but nothing more. No attempt to talk, to heal together, to be a family again, because there is no more family. She nodded silently, but she did not cry. I think for the first time she truly understood. I returned to Albuquerque the next day. On the way back, I thought a lot about everything, about whether or not I should cut all ties completely, ignore her forever, pretend neither she nor the girl existed, be free from everything. But I could not. There is something in me that does not go away, a kind of strange commitment. I do not know if it is guilt, attachment, or humanity. I do not plan to raise a daughter who is not mine. I do not plan to support anyone, but I cannot pretend she did not exist. So I decided that if she ever needed something basic, medical, an emergency, whatever, I would be present, the minimum, what is fair, without getting more involved than necessary. It is a bad decision, maybe, but it is the one I can make now, the one that allows me to sleep a little more peacefully. I do not consider myself good, or fair, or wise, just a guy who did the best he could in the midst of hell. A few months have passed since that hospital episode. I returned to my routine in Albuquerque. I try to get back into rhythm, focus on work, do therapy once a week. Things felt a little more stable, but never completely, as if I were building on a burnt house. I knew there were still things buried under the ashes. She did not write to me again after that, and I did not write either. Until one afternoon, around 6, I got a message from a new number. It was a picture of the baby, already a little older, sitting, smiling. There was no text, just the image. I was about to delete it without looking, but I did not. I stared at it for a long time. She was a cute baby, I am not going to lie. And she looked like her mother. The eyes, the nose. I did not see anything of mine, and that hurt me less than I imagined. I did not reply. I saved the number in case she wrote again, but I did not write. A week later, another message. This time, with context. She asked if I could send some money for diapers and formula, that she was in a difficult situation, that she had lost her job, that rent was looming. It took me a long time to reply, not because I hesitated, but because I did not know if doing so was opening the door again that had cost me so much to close. But in the end, I did it. I transferred a fair amount, the minimum necessary, without comments, without chat, just that. She sent me a thank you and said nothing more. And so those sporadic messages began. Once a month, sometimes twice. She would ask for help with specific things, medicine, diapers, medical visits, always short, always direct. I would send what was necessary, not because I believed I had to, but because I could not completely ignore a creature who came into the world in the midst of all this mess. But one night the tone changed. She sent me a long message. She told me the baby was already starting to say words, that sometimes she said dada, or when she saw pictures of us together from before, that she had an album where I was holding her while she slept in the hospital, and that she, the mother, did not know how to handle that. That message broke me more than the previous ones, because then I understood that the damage did not stop with us, that the shit was seeping into a life that was just beginning, that girl, even if she was not mine, was growing up with voids, and one of those voids, because of all this, had my shape. I did not sleep that night. I thought a lot about whether I should cut all ties definitively, disappear from the map, let the girl not grow up with a false image. Let her not call me dada if I am not. Let her not be confused. Let her not carry my mistakes. The next day, I wrote to her, I am not her dad. Do not tell her I am. Do not put me in her memories if I do not belong there. It took her hours to reply. She told me it was not her intention to confuse the baby, that she simply talked about me when she asked, that she did not know how to avoid it, that I was there in one of her toughest moments. And that remained in the creature's emotional memory. And that destroyed me even more, because I was not a father. But I acted like one, and now that baby was left with one more void. Another man who was there and disappeared. I spent days thinking about it. I talked to my therapist. I told him everything. He asked me if, deep down, I wanted to have some kind of role in that girl's life. I told him I did not know, that maybe yes, but that I could not, because I am not the father, because it would be unfair to her, because it would be continuing to live a lie, even if it now has a different form. After that, I spent weeks without answering her messages anymore. I isolated myself again. I went back to basics. Work, eat, sleep, disconnect. Until one night, after a particularly long day, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I did not answer, but they insisted. And on the third time, I picked up. It was a woman, not her. She said she was the social worker from the local hospital, that she was with the girl's mother, that they had had to intervene because she had been found in a state of emotional collapse, that the baby was under observation, and that they needed to contact a relative or reference adult. I told her the truth, that I was not the father, that I had no legal ties to her, that I could do nothing. She thanked me for the information, but her tone changed. Colder, more bureaucratic. I hung up. I sat there, in the dark, feeling that something was about to end, but I did not know what. The end of everything or the beginning of another stage. I did not know. I only had one thing clear. That baby did not deserve any of this, and we two were to blame for her life starting like this. After that call, I waited for news. I did not sleep that night. I sat in front of my cell phone with the screen dark, as if that would make it ring faster. They did not write to me anymore, nor did it ring again. And that was worse. Uncertainty is a quieter form of torture. The next morning, I called. I used the number they had given me. Another woman answered. I told her who I was, what little I knew. She asked me to wait. Minutes later, she returned and told me that, for privacy reasons, they could not give me more information if I was not a direct relative, but that the mother was under psychiatric observation and the girl was under temporary care in an assistance center. I did not know what to say. I hung up. I leaned against the wall, felt that pressure in my chest that you only feel when your body can no longer take any more shit. I spent the rest of the day like a zombie. I did not work. I did not eat. I just kept walking around the apartment in circles. With that idea stuck in my head, the girl is alone, the mother is out of her mind, and I can do nothing. Or so I thought, because at night I got another email. This time it was from a different social worker, more direct. He told me that the mother had left my name as an emergency contact, that they understood I was not the legal father, but that, given the context, they wanted to know if I was willing to talk to them to consider temporary care alternatives. I did not know how to react. A part of me wanted to say no, that it was not my responsibility, that I had already given enough. But another part, the one that still had not completely shut down, could not leave that baby in the hands of the system. That creature did not ask for anything. She was not to blame for the lies, or the deceptions, or the chaos. I said yes, that we could talk. We had a video call. They asked me about everything. My work situation, my income, my mental state, my legal background. I was honest. I told them I was not the father, that I did not want to pretend to be one, that I was not looking to keep the girl, but that if they needed someone to help in the immediate term, to prevent her from falling into a random home, I could be there. I do not know if it was the right thing. I only know I could not stand by with my arms crossed. A week later, I was signing some papers to take temporary charge. Not adoption, not guardianship, just a guy who offered a bed and food until the mother was out of the hospital or until they found a suitable relative. The day they brought the baby to my apartment, I felt a mixture of nerves, guilt, and tenderness I had never felt before. She arrived asleep in an assistant's arms, with a bag of diapers, some clothes, a stuffed animal. I put her in a borrowed crib, sat beside her, and there I was for hours, just watching her breathe. I am not going to play the hero. I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like an imposter. It was hard for me to change her diaper, prepare her bottle, calm her when she cried. But something strange happened. As the days went by, I started to recognize her signals, her faces, her rhythms. And I also started to cry less for myself, because I no longer had so much time to mourn. I was busy taking care of someone else. The social workers came every week to do checkups. They asked me if everything was still in order. I told them yes. I did not tell them that many nights I spent awake or that sometimes I felt like running away, because even though it was hard, it was real, it was life. After a month, they told me the mother was going to be discharged soon, that she was stable, but that her legal and emotional situation was still complicated, that they still did not know if she would be able to take care of her daughter again. They asked me if I would consider extending the temporary stay. I said yes. Not because I want to be her father, not because I am thinking of adopting. I am not playing happy family, but because I have already been on the other side, that of broken adults who drag others into their misery. And I do not want her, that little girl who has already learned to laugh when I make silly faces, to grow up with that. So here I am, a single guy in a small apartment, with a baby who does not carry my blood, but sleeps under my roof. They say it is temporary, that all this will be resolved at some point, that she will return to her mother or another relative. I do not know what will happen, but if tomorrow they tell me there is no one else, I do not know if I could let her go. I guess there are things you do not choose. Sometimes you do not get to be the protagonist of your own story. Sometimes you are just there, trying not to fail anymore.